Okay,
People
so you're talking about...
The people in Steve Jobs
join the conversation?
sweatshops in China, they had to sign pacts to promise that they would not commit suicide. That's how miserable it is to work in an Apple factory in China. That's profits over people, and that's what I think you're against. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so you're against all profit making within the United States. Then let's ask you, since you seem to have a very clear idea. So anyone who makes, so let's leave aside Chinese labor or anything like that, because those are definitely some problematic practices. But if I make money within the U.S. just trading with the people around here, you have no problem. I can make as much money as I want.
Within certain limits, so long as what you're doing is ethical, so long as it's humane, so long as it's legal.
Okay, but so what does that mean? So I think as long as it's voluntary, I should be able to make as much as I want. So if I make $5 billion a year and it's all based on selling to people like you and him and all these guys over here, I should be able to make $5 billion.
Fine, make $5 billion a year. I just think that you should be taxed more proportionally if you make that much.
But why? If I'm doing something good, why should I be taxed more?
You're not doing something good. You're just making profit for yourself.
Oh, but you might have missed the earlier part of the conversation. So what I was saying is that you make a profit by creating value. The only way you can make more money than it costs you to produce something is by creating new value. So the iPhone is new value over and above all those parts that went into it. So that's a good thing. So if I'm making $5 billion, that means I brought a lot of new value into the world.
Not necessarily. If you're really rich, it's not that simple. There are a lot of reasons that a person could end up that rich. Luck has a lot to do with it. Intelligence has a lot to do with it.
So what do you mean luck? But then someone would have to have produced it. Maybe my dad, this is a made-up story. Maybe my dad made $5 billion, and then he gave it to me. Okay, then I got, in a sense, there was a lucky element of it. But still, does he have a right to have that $5 billion, and does it belong to him?
Well, if he earned it, then yes. But I think it should be taxed more proportionally.
But if he earned it, why should it be taxed more proportionally?
Okay, look, I'm probably going to mess this up. Just last night I saw a video of a guy in Occupy Wall Street who totally messed up the question, and I'm probably going to do the same. I think because if you're earning $5 billion a year, you can be taxed 70%. That was the tax on the super rich before Reagan came along. That's what my sign says. That's in Reaganomics once and for all. It used to be 70% on the super rich, and you're still earning far more than most Americans could ever dream of. You're still earning your profit. You're still.
But if you earned it, why do you get punished more? It's like, so Michael Jordan, in the NBA, he made by far the most money, but why should he pay the highest percentage? The point is he's making the money because he produced the most.
Michael Jordan, he just played basketball, because you should pay your fair
but that was something that brought a lot of value to people. That was actually part of benefiting people by making profit.
Because you should pay your fair share. People like
what's fair?
What's fair? Whatever what the government needs to keep itself going and to pay for the services that we want. I mean,
but then we want. So there's an issue of there's clearly some services such as a police force that are obviously vital, and I actually think those police forces should sweep away a lot of this stuff because I don't think it's really legal. That's probably something that we disagree. Well, hopefully on Tuesday they'll vote for it. I think that process is dubious. Anyway, we agree we need a police force, but the question is, if someone says, I want half of Steve Jobs' money, and he gets a bunch of people to vote for it, how does that make it right?
They're not saying they want half of Steve Jobs' money. They're saying that people like Steve Jobs who are earning massive amounts. In America, CEOs earn 300 times what their average workers earn. In Japan, it's like 11. In England, it's like 22 times. Americans, 300. People earning that much, they can afford to pay more on taxes. Someone's got to help all the tax burden. Let's make it
okay, but I mean, if you punch me in the face right now, I could recover. That doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. So we're talking about a moral issue here, it seems. So what I'm saying is, if someone creates value, why are you looking at him as someone who should be dealt more punishment? At the very least, it seems he should pay the same percentage of his taxes as everyone else.
That's not. There's no punishment for anything. Steve Jobs would still be earning far more than you could ever hope to earn, than I could ever hope to earn, unless I
pay taxes. I don't earn that much money.
We should not be putting the burden of taxes on poor people who are struggling. One of them might be as smart as Steve Jobs. One of the people working at Steve Jobs' factory in China who had to sign that suicide pact might have been as smart smart as Steve Jobs, they might have had the next.
I know. So what they need is a freer country where they can keep as much of their money as possible. And part of what, so let's
tax people.
let's take a look at where does Steve Jobs' wealth go? So did Steve Jobs, let's say it's $6 billion. What did he do with that? Did he just okay, whatever, like 12 billion? Okay. So did he just buy a bunch of yachts? I mean, what is his wealth doing?
I heard somewhere that Steve Jobs actually discouraged giving money to charity.
Okay, so what is his wealth doing? So he's not in charity. What is it?
You're trying to say to get at that him being a job creator, right? Well,
I'm trying to get at the fact that his wealth is invested productively, and what that means is that it is invested in large part in individuals' salaries and them being productive. So the first thing that I want, if I want to be successful, is okay. Let's try to just talk domestically. So
his jobs to
if we talk, okay, so you don't like jobs in China. That's fine. There are definitely problems with Chinese policy that should be dealt with by fixing the policy in China. There's nothing inherently wrong with foreign labor. Do you have something against foreign people making money?
Well, we're taking advantage of places like China where the laws aren't as strict as they are here. I don't think that's right.
Okay, so but the general thing, if you leave aside bad government policies, what you have is you have some poor labor. So this illustrates my point. You have some poor laborers in these countries, and what Jobs' money is doing is it's capital investment, and so it goes to paying their salaries, which enables them to live a better life, for them to be more productive, for them to contribute to more profit. So this is a very virtuous, productive process. So the reason we have the whole world around us the way we do right now is because of huge amounts of capital built up by the people you demonize as the 1%. And what I'm saying is, those people, if they earn their money honestly, they deserve it. If they don't, we should have different laws. But if they do, they should be able to keep as much of it as possible.
Look, the people in the 1% pay the government so they can get their way. So how is that fair?
Well, not
why should an
so
individual,
let's split it
because
up.
he has more money, his voice counts millions of times more than an individual who doesn't make more money? How is that fair?
Well, they all have
so why don't we
one vote. They all have one vote, so I don't know what you mean it counts.
It's called lobbying, which is code for bribing.
Okay, so you're against the teachers' union lobbying and that because those are the really powerful.
And contributions, unlimited campaign contributions. That's something we need to end.
Right. So
and corporate personhood for another thing.
Okay, so you're against many things. But what I want to focus on with this issue of the 1% is, I think you have to there's an important separation to make, because one is you have people like Steve Jobs who are overwhelmingly productive, and then you have some people who might not have been so productive but maybe got some bailouts. But then why are you say you're against the 1%? You're not separating out the productive 1% and the unproductive. And I think if you look at it, the
Steve
productive...
Jobs himself, as great a man as he is, still has problems.
That's a good point.
But does that mean he should be punished because he has problems?
What do you consider punishment? I'm not exactly sure what you consider punishment.
I consider it punishment to take away a large percentage of someone's money.
So we can't really punish him.
Give the tax burden to the people who can bear it, not the people who can't bear it.
So what I'm saying is that I don't regard that as a moral belief.
Taxes are a punishment.
So
the rich got tax breaks under Bush, and then we got a war. Combine the two, you have a deficit. I mean, that's all there is to it,
I know,
right?
but the point is getting So why should you take... So what you're doing with Jobs, right? You're taking... So he's got a bunch of money, right? He made it, he earned it, and then you're physically... The government is saying, you must give us the money, otherwise we're going to throw you in jail. We're going to give you... You say 70%. So this guy's working... That doesn't make it right. You're certainly wrong. So think about it. This guy's working 365 days a year. And what you're saying is that only 100 of those days he should get paid what he earns. The rest of the time, he should just have to give it to the rest of us. That makes absolutely no sense.
He's still earning more than you could in a million lifetimes.
But it's his money. It's like if someone has a mansion and you go steal a third of the stuff, it's not right because you say, oh, you're still richer than I am.
It's taxation.
Well, but what is taxation? Taxation is taking money by force. So if you're taxing someone as earning... What?
Are you against all taxes?
No, but it's taxes that are designed to protect people's rights. You know, the basic
rights. Protect the rights of the little guys, then. Steve Jobs can look after himself. 100 days a year, that's still quite a lot.
You think that, whatever, over 200 days a year, Steve Jobs should spend working for everyone else. He should be forced to work for everyone else.
No, I don't think that. That's a complete... I think that if anyone... Do you think that the common people should be forced to work for everyone else?
Who are the common people?
The common people. People who aren't Steve Jobs.
I'm not Steve Jobs.
The 99%.
I don't want him to... I do not... This is my...
People?
I want to...
You work for Steve Jobs.
I work for people only in a sense of I trade them my services for money. In terms of taxes, I would like to only pay for what's necessary for the police, the courts, and the military. I certainly don't want to pay people.
A deregulated society, that's failed over and over. We had... It failed in the 20s. It went to the Great Depression. We had a laissez-faire society in the 20s.
Did we?
Yeah, under Harding, Coolidge, and Hoover.
So what did we have in the 1870s when we had the greatest economic boom in the history of the universe?
In the 1870s?
Yeah.
I don't...
Okay, so that was the closest we ever had to laissez-faire capitalism. What you had in the early 1900s was you had a massive increase in regulation, including the income tax, the Federal Reserve, a lot of other sorts of legislation that were passed in the name of the very ideas you're talking about, the name of equalizing things, the name of controlling. And my point is just when you have police, when you have courts, when you have a military, when you just have voluntary... No, I know, that's a whole set of regulations. When you just have voluntary interactions, that's the way to go, because then I can't take anything from you unjustly, and you can't take anything from me. And if I make $6 billion, I earn it, and I get to keep it, or at least the vast majority of it. And whatever you make, you get to keep. And if you want to come work at Steve Jobs' company, you're free to. So that is the ideal sort of society. It's not an ideal society where you take the successful people and say, hey, you've got more than everyone else, therefore I'm going to take away 70% of your money. That is unjust.
I think
I totally disagree.
You're sort of talking about Ayn Rand's philosophy, and that Ayn Rand, objectivism is like it's like communism. It works very well on paper. All this stuff about being your own person, it sounds good. Instead, it leads to feudalism.
So I can't be my own person?
All this stuff about, no, you can be your own person. I support that. I just don't think that, I mean, Ayn Rand talked about cutting everything. We have Ron Paul talking about getting rid of
those are two different people, but no, I do love Ayn Rand, so I would certainly espouse her ideas on these subjects. But the issue seems to be, you think it's right to take the money of the most productive people, to take an overwhelming majority of that money and give it to people who don't earn it. And I don't see why that's right. And I just don't think that's morally defensible.
And I think that I don't see how your position is at all morally defensible, because you want to punish the poor people. So
let's just make it clear on this. We talked about what is a profit and what isn't. So the way people make profits is by creating value that other people voluntarily pay for and that their workers voluntarily agree to help create. So you've got three parties benefiting: the businessman, his employees, and the customers. So there's no exploitation. And what you see if you study history, which I'd recommend studying a bit more, is that the more free the economy, the greater productivity you have in labor, the greater increases in wage rates. What you have with some of the more recent problems, you have more government intervention. It really distorts the system. All right. Well, anyway, I thank you for talking to me, and I think we have a real moral disagreement.